Welcome back. Not wild speculations, dungeon master design and discussion.
Yeah, not many wild speculations to be had with no critical role on the air right now.
It's true. Although we also have the Wildemount campaign guide.
Yes, and if we have some time or decide to go late since there's no talks, we'll do a bit of a review on that.
Yeah.
Or discussion.
Pardon me.
No problem.
Thank you, Chewbacca.
But
so we had this idea out of there we go. On what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was actually during a stream.
Yeah, an Oath of Chaos.
Yes, Oath of Chaos. There was no trickster, trickster cleric, trickster type paladin.
Right. Over the intervening time, and especially in trying to come up with a cohesive design view, I sort of had to put aside the chaos element, because oaths by their nature are lawful and chaos has a certain connotation.
Yeah, I was going to say paladins in and of themselves, even vengeance and conquest, don't really bend to chaos.
Right.
There.
So not that it was necessarily antithetical. To it, but I thought it was a better exercise to look at change. Yeah. We still went with what's in the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, vis-a-vis Avandra, and even a bit of the Moonweaver.
Yeah.
In their precepts.
And I like this. It feels more of the freedom fighter, the Captain America during Civil War, for the comics fans.
Yeah. So, I guess we can get into it.
Yes.
Now that I actually got it displaying. That's what I was doing before. So every oath has tenets.
Yep.
And this is my first that was worse. I don't know what the hell that was.
I think there's supposed to be an E before the V. ABLE. There we go.
Thank you. My first stab at that. Try to resize it for you guys here. A little better, I guess. Change is inevitable. Accept and foster change wherever you see a need for it. Change is frightening. Help those who are afraid of change accept it and move past their fear. Boldness. Shape your own and the world's destiny with decisive action. Bend toward justice. Make change that is good for all people, especially those who need it most. And fate is what you make it. Preparation and opportunity are the best arbiters of fortune.
Yes.
We have some oath spells, of course, because that's basically the largest part of Paladin flavor.
Yes.
Started with Bless and Bane, as you pointed out, because fate is a large part of this.
Yeah.
And those are the two biggest spells.
Yeah. Especially at first level, you know, it's
Yeah.
just, hey, I'm either going to give you a little bit of good luck with a D4 or a little bit of bad luck with the D4.
Yeah. And it's both those spells are on the Paladin list.
No, just
Bane,
blesses.
that's right. Just
Bane
bless.
is not. But this way, it's always prepared.
Right.
You are always ready to dole out luck.
Right. Early in the design process, I thought about calm emotions as a channel divinity effect, basically. But I like what we went with for the channel divinities better.
We changed it a little bit, but
yeah, and having it as a spell works just as well.
Yeah.
And Nystul's magic aura was your idea.
Yeah.
And I sort of glommed onto it because the idea of a freedom fighter.
Yes. And it'll come into play later on too in the future. But
right.
Yeah, it was just, you know, I like the idea of it, you know, altering the aura, making it, you know, I see it as how the freedom fighters get into the oppressed town. You know.
Yeah.
How Robin Hood sneaks into the court of Prince John, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Because let's face it, in no movie is his disguise that great.
It's true. Yeah. And Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, he basically just rubs shit on himself.
Yeah.
Not exactly a magical aura there, but
Caleb would argue that.
Fair. 9th level, tongues and beacon of hope.
Yep.
Tongues largely because if you're going to spread the word of
change,
you need to be able to talk to the people.
Yep.
And beacon of hope because you're a battlefield commander.
You know, well, that and, you know, going back to the help those who are afraid of change accept it. You're showing them the light at the end. You know, change is scary, but it turns out to be good, you know.
Right.
The bend towards justice, helping those who need it most. It kind of fits in with those two tenets, especially.
Right. Compulsion. This is where you are forcing that change.
Yes.
And hallucinatory terrain.
When words alone just don't work. Compulsion.
Right. Hallucinatory terrain, same kind of idea of the guerrilla fighter. Being able to hide yourself or your charges if you're on the run.
Again, throw back to Robin Hood and, you know, Sherwood Forest.
Yeah.
You know, and I know Robin Hood is stereotypically thought of as the ranger, but I really think that he's this type of paladin more than a ranger. He falls more in line with a paladin as far as beliefs and actions.
Well, I mean, he was a knight fighting the Crusades in the Holy Land. I mean,
he's a dex-based paladin.
Yeah.
He's a Dexidin.
Yes. And then at 17th level, Mislead and Gias.
Yes.
Again, this idea of using, from the Moonweaver side of things, using illusion to throw your pursuer off the scent.
Yep.
So that you can get away and continue to affect change. And then Gias
is putting action to the words.
Yeah. You may have a foe who has surrendered because the odds were against them, and they swear they'll change their ways, and you are certain that the next time that they, have the opportunity, they're going to go back on their word. That spell means they better not.
Yes. It's that decisive action and the boldness, Yep.
Then we get into our features.
Yes.
Our channel divinities. Whims of Fate. That was your title, which I loved. Whims of Chance would also work.
Yes.
But Fate is more, I think, in line.
Yeah.
With the verbiage. As an action, you target a creature you can see within 30 feet. It has advantage or disadvantage on its next roll, your choice.
Yes. So that could be an attack roll, saving throw, ability check. Any basically D20 roll.
Right.
Death save.
Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good way to help to potentially keep the party up. Yeah.
Keep the party up, or make sure the bad guy stays down.
That's true too. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And this idea also was more heavily influenced by the initial idea.
Yeah.
Of chaos being a force of fate and luck. But I like that it's here because Avandra still has that aspect.
Yes.
And then the other channel divinity, a rare channel divinity, because it's a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And it says you may reroll a charisma check before you know the result.
Yeah. So before the DM tells you success, failure, you look at that number and be like, nah, I want something better than that.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's a 9 on the die. I mean, yeah, I got a plus 10 or whatever, but I don't like the 9.
Yeah. I suppose we should put in there that they have to take the new result, or they get to choose.
I would say they choose. So, yeah. Because this is kind of the like we were discussing before when we were talking about this. This is the using the persuasion or intimidation or deception or whatever it is to get the people to follow you or to talk the evil person into turning over a new leaf,
Right.
And you don't want that to fail,
Yeah.
You want that change on the horizon.
7th level, Fortune favors the bold. You and all your allies within 10 feet add your charisma to initiative, and at 18 it extends to 30.
Yes.
This is a fun one, I think, probably.
I think it's a great one. It's a tack on to your Paladin auras, the courage and the purity auras, kind of, but so they're getting it to saves, they're getting it to, initiative now, so.
Yeah. So potentially huge. And it's still useful even if you're surprised, because you can activate this when you have a reaction. And
well, there is no activating. It's just your aura. It's always on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I was thinking previous versions were an activation, but yeah.
You are just always ready to, follow that tenet of boldness.
Stacks nicely with the War Wizard.
Yes.
Adding their intelligence.
Yes. Or the Chronologist Wizard, or the Gloomstalker Ranger, or the Swashbuckler Rogue.
Yeah.
He would then get his charisma and your charisma on 2 charisma based.
Yeah.
So
this team goes first.
Anyone with the alert feat.
Well, this paladin with the alert feats. Crazy, yeah.
Especially if you make it a Dexidin.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm beginning to see your argument for Robin Hood, for sure. Yeah. 15th level, Cloak the Just. This one came first before we did the Oath spells.
Yes.
And it just made sense in retrospect to add this as an Oath spell.
Yeah,
and this
you
just
get
to
it
be
earlier,
gravy.
and then it's more of an enhancement of that Oath spell now, which I really like.
Right. You can now cast Nystel's Magic Aura without expending a spell slot a number of times per day equal to your Charisma modifier, minimum 1. Regain all uses at the end of a long rest.
Yeah. So now you not only just disguise yourself, but the aura of yourself, but of your whole party.
Yeah, well, and at 15th level, potentially 6 targets.
Yeah.
Because you can, assuming you have a +3 charisma, you have 3 spell slots.
Mm-hmm.
So you could target 6 different objects or creatures because it works on objects.
That's correct.
So potentially a big boon at 15th level. 20th level, Mutable Combat. This one was fun, and it's one of those things where it might be overpowered. Maybe.
Oh, go ahead and read it, and then I'm going to tell you where it's overpowered, because I thought it was something great to do with this.
Okay. Mutable Combatant. As an action, choose a creature you can see that is within 60 feet. You have advantage on all attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks against the target. The target has disadvantage on all attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks against you. This ability lasts for 1 minute or until you or your target are incapacitated. Once you use this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest.
So this is what you do. Okay. You use an action and trigger this ability on person X. You then, as a bonus action, cast the spell Compel Duel, where they have disadvantage on the saving throw against that spell, and now they're in danger of attacking if they attack anybody but you.
Yes. See,
Compel Duel is my favorite Paladin spell. It's one of my favorite spells. I love the spell.
And that sort of gets around one of the things that I thought when I first thought of this, which was, it doesn't necessarily mean the target has to attack you.
Yeah.
But with that spell,
it kind of does.
It kind of does. Yeah.
And I looked it up. Compel Duel is a bonus action to cast, just to be sure. So you're going first because you've got the aura.
Yeah.
Okay, come here. And that's forcing the showdown to overthrow the evil tyrant.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, and and really this really is the ability, especially combined with the Compel Duel, where your paladin is up in the bad guy's face, and the bad guy has to deal with them. So you are taking damage away from everybody else.
Yeah.
But because they have disadvantage on their attack rolls against you, your survivability is higher.
Yeah.
As well.
This is that moment in the classic story arc where the poor nothing guy who's risen and become a champion finally confronts the big bad, and it's like, I've got to get this guy out of the way if my plans are going to succeed. And it forces that climax of the story arc.
Right.
Is exactly what this does.
I put it to you, like, the inspiration for this power was mutants or supervillains, superheroes, who can, when they're fighting somebody, basically pick up on their fighting style and give it back to them. They find all the weaknesses. They know what they're going to do next. So they can. That's why.
Basically, Taskmaster from the new Black Widow villain. If anyone's familiar with him in the comics, it's exactly what he does.
So, yeah, and that's why they have disadvantage on the attack rolls against you, because you know what they're going to do before they do.
You can read their body language. You know exactly where they're coming from.
Yep. And because you know what they're going to do, you have advantage to hit them. Yeah. So works both ways on that. But yeah. Now, I had some thoughts, and I don't want to write them down because this is ultimately silly, but it's fun to theory craft and BS. But an oath of chaos, truly.
Okay.
What does that mean? And the idea of this fate, playing with fate, is sort of key to that. And I thought, what if it's chaos at the table?
Okay.
So then I started thinking of all the different ways that a player could induce chaos at the table. And I thought of a channel divinity for it.
Okay.
And this is probably silly. But, well, it's definitely silly. But it might also be overpowered, and you probably never won it in your game. Well, I don't want to call it Tides of Chaos, because that's a wild sorcerer thing. But basically, if you roll if a 1 or a 20 is rolled as a reaction, you can channel divinity and switch them.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter who on the table rolled it. You can just say, that's a 20 now, or that's a 1 now. And I kind of like the idea of pairing wild magic with the Paladin.
Yeah. See, you say a chaos, oath of chaos and stuff, and this may be the comic nerd in me, but I just go to the Joker. How would I make the Joker a Paladin? Because he is essentially the ultimate agent of chaos.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to have oath spells like Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
Oh, yeah.
I would honestly use the Joker as the inspiration for an Oath of Chaos Paladin. I like that channel divinity. I don't think that it's broken. And here's why. He gets it twice a day.
Yeah.
How's that any different than a divination wizard rolling a 20 and a 1 on their portents?
That's true.
And how often, honestly, 20s and 1s.
Statistically, they're equal.
There's 18 other numbers that are going to come up.
Yeah.
And if it's got to be on the 20 or a 1, unless you make it to where whatever they roll, you can just flip it to the opposite side of the die. $19's going to become a 2.
That might be fun. But
I mean, that's going to get into is it a standard die or is it a spin down? Is it?
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, I thought of that immediately. Well, if it's a spin down, I don't think that matters very much. Yeah, it's true. But I just like the symmetry of the 1 and 20.
Yeah.
When I did that.
Or you could do it. You could just make a critical hit, a critical miss, because if they're going with the rule that 10 over is or under is a crit.
Oh, for someone porting over Pathfinder 2 mechanics.
No, I think it's an optional rule in 5th, isn't it? No, okay.
Yeah. Trying to think of something else. It's the problem with not having written it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was stuff like that, or forcing the DM to target somebody else. It was that kind of thing in my head, because admittedly it was very a meta construct on my part.
Yeah, I would probably try to tone back the meta portion, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with the reaction channel divinity that allows you to make the attack that was aimed at you hit someone else, like the Drunken Master.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's precedent for it. Not that these are broken, it was just the trigger and the effect were all more meta and more. See, this is the player.
And almost
exactly Snoopy. Deadpool stuff.
Yeah. Deadpool, Harley Quinn, yeah. And almost what I would do, if this is the case, you mentioned the wild magic, anytime they use a channel divinity or a subclass feature, make them roll on the wild magic table. Yeah. As a side effect that happens.
Yeah. Is there anything anything additional we wanted to talk about on the Oath of Change?
No, I mean, again, I've said, I mentioned Robin Hood, I mentioned Captain America during Civil War when he was leading the Underground Avengers. I like it. I'm not a huge Paladin guy. Anyone who has played with me knows that.
Or has watched the show.
Or has watched the show. And you and I have had discussions. I tend to play people who protect others, so why isn't
should be a natural fit.
It should be a natural fit, but for some reason it's not.
Yeah.
I like this one. I think this one would go very well with the Grinner background in the Wildemount guide, which we can talk about when we discuss that.
And Tal'Dorei?
No.
Well, the background wasn't there. The faction.
The faction was there in the Tal'Dorei campaign setting, but it's an actual background now. And I've kind of been wanting to try a Paladin now that the UA came out with the alternative class rules, because I would play it less as a martial type. I would probably take the Divine Warrior fighting type to get 2 cleric cantrips. Be dex-based, go, around in robes, maybe some light armor underneath the robes, and be the wandering Friar Tuck type guy as a Paladin. And this, with the Grinner background, I could see me playing that.
Yeah. So,
anything that makes me want to play a class that I don't typically like, I like. That tells me if it gives me
a new take on it,
a new take on the class, or makes me makes me think of a character concept I want to do. To me, that's a sign of a good subclass.
Yeah.
If it sparks the imagination and gets the ideas flowing,
right?
That's what I look for, and this definitely does that for me. So,
yeah. Do we want to spend a few minutes on Wildemount?
Absolutely, we can do that. What do we want to? So this just came out on St. Patrick's Day.
Yep. Now you tend to focus your purchasing on player options, and there was some discussion on Twitter some threads on Twitter I came across where the question was, if I'm not a DM, should I bother buying this book?
Definitely.
Okay.
I think so. It gives you new takes on gods. It's got Exandria's take on the gods, and you've got the prime deities, the betrayer deities, as well as lesser idols.
Right.
If you're a fan of Critical Role, get it. I guess this is a good time. Spoiler. Not that our whole show isn't about spoilers, but
right.
It gives you some things that go in here. So they have what's called lesser idols, which is things that aren't really gods, but can have, clerics or warlocks and dole out power and, so like Ukatoa and the other two of that triad, the Luxon, the Traveler, Vesh, if you remember Kasha from Campaign 1 served Vesh. And then one that was interesting, the Hag Mother.
Yes, this one was
who I believe we have seen. So, rumored to be the oldest hag and progenitor of all other hags in Exandria, the Hag Mother arrived in the world just after the founding. I'm not going to read the whole thing just in case there's any issues with that.
But she's looking for.
She wanders the land making deals with people in dire straits, offering power to save them in return for their service. Basically, it talks about her having been exiled by the other hags from her coven. She has a soft spot for humanoids in peril that caused her original coven to exile and to bind her to Exandria with a magical curse. So she's looking for a coven. She's been exiled by basically her children. And,
And you think that was our...
I believe that is the person who Jester is attempting to make friends with.
Yeah.
And she would be, it's got her listed as the Fiend for a Warlock Patron. And Knowledge and Trickery clerical domains. So you can worship her as a cleric. Although, if Jester has a falling out with the Traveler and wants to join the coven, she can be a cleric of the Traveler / warlock of the Hag Mother.
Yeah.
I don't know that Fiend would really fit Jester, though.
Although she is a tiefling.
It's true.
And she does like to kill people.
Also true.
Those temporary hit points, when you do so, it's a nice
bonus.
Yeah. And they have backgrounds in this one, right?
Yes. They have 2 new backgrounds. They have several races, most of them reprints. We do get new elf subrace, a new halfling subrace, or Krokra, or you say that. First time in a printed book, as well as
a player option.
As a player option, they were in the Elemental Evil Players guide, which was an online-only PDF.
Yeah, and they're in the DMG for player character potentials, and the monster manual, of course.
Yeah, and then Turtles are also here for the first time in a printed.
And most of these reprints, I think, are done for Adventures League purposes.
Yes.
Players Handbook +1.
There are a few differences. So, like the orc in here is the orc from Eberron. Mechanically, exactly, except for with a longer lifespan. About an additional 20-year lifespan. So, little tweaks like that to fit the world.
Right.
Subclasses, the Echo Knight Fighter, which we saw, the Chronergy Magic and the Graviturgy Magic.
Right. Which Essek is a Graviturgist.
Yes. Absolutely. Some new spells of every level. Dunamancy, which are locked behind the 2 wizard subclasses.
Without special
without
dispensation.
Without DM dispensation. It says, Dunamancy spells are readily available to the wizard subclasses in this chapter and should not simply be added to the full spell list of other spell casting classes. However, the Dungeon Master may consider allowing other spell casting classes opportunities throughout the campaign. So, and there are some good ones. A lot of expensive ones. It's about 50-50 whether it's material expense,
requires gold component cost.
Yeah, which is consumed in most of their cases.
Yeah.
So it's every time you're casting a spell, you're spending 100 or 1,000, GP.
Or the one gravity one that Caleb learned was 25 gold pieces a pop.
Yeah. And Fortune's Favor is 100 gold pieces a pop. It requires a pearl worth 100 gold, which the spell consumes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they're not doing that.
So then address that in Twitter. Evidently, originally it was not. This is a balance issue from Wizards, which Matt wholeheartedly adopted, and Caleb has since deducted from his gold. And going forward will be a white pearl worth at least 100 GP, which the spell consumes for 1 fragment of possibility.
Wow.
There's the Hero Chronicle, which is a lot like the Xanathar's, what happened to you before, kind of table, lots of stuff. It's got a lot of good ones. There's tables on ally and rival relationships and stuff like that, and how well you get along, not just, we get along, not neutral, we don't like each other. There's actual reasoning behind that.
Yeah, events and stuff. My understanding, there's a lot of stuff in there that plugs you into Wildemount.
Yes. Yeah. Favorite foods, prophecies, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the 2 backgrounds, these are really interesting to me. I really like both of them. The first one is the Grinner, which is the Golden Grin. Originated in Taldore under an authoritarian king to kind of overthrow the tyranny.
Yep. Kind
of what we're talking about with the Paladin.
Yep. And sort of parallels some of what we've seen, at least Bo's interpretation of the Cobalt Soul.
Yeah. So, Grinner's Golden Grin, they are, if you watched Campaign 1, Dr. Drazel, Dranzel, Dr. Scanlan's mentor was a Grinner.
Yeah.
So skill proficiencies, you get Deception and Performance. You get 1 musical instrument and Thieves' Tools. You get a fine set of clothes, disguise kit, musical instrument of your choice, gold-plated ring depicting a smiling face, and a pouch containing 15 gold.
Wow.
You get a favorite code song, and there's a list of different songs and what they're used for, kind of things. Class feature the Ballad of the Grinning Fool. Like every Grinner, you know how to find a hideout. In any city of 10,000 or more people, You can play the Ballad of the Grinning Fool in a major tavern or inn. A member of the Golden Grin will find you and give you shelter to you and any companions you vouch for. This shelter might be discontinued if it becomes too dangerous to hide you at the DM's discretion. This feature must be used with caution, for not all who know the ballad are your friends. Some are traitors, counter-spies, and agents of tyranny. So, it's got that nice, hey, we can find safe haven, but the DM can just use that to hook you in.
Yeah.
Personality traits. I love the spotlight. Give me a drink and I'm your friend. Talk to me about yourself. I hate to start fights, but I love to finish them. Can't sit still. Always humming an old tune. When I don't have a reason to smile, I'm miserable. And I'm lucky like you wouldn't believe. So it goes on. It's got ideals, bonds, flaws. One flaw I really like. I've never lied in my life. What? No, I'm not crossing my fingers. So yeah, that's definitely like I said when we were talking about the Paladin. This with that Paladin, this background with that Paladin.
Yeah.
Make a great, just, freedom fighter, rebel rouser type.
Yeah, for sure.
The other background, which is also very interesting. Now, Crit Roll Stats lists Caleb as a Haunted One background. But it specifically says here, I'm going to read this in the preface for the backgrounds. Wildemount is a land of secrets, so your character's background might work best if it's kept secret from the other players, especially if you choose either the Grinner or the Volstrucker agent, this next one. Work with your DM to determine a second false background that can help you hide your true background, or a cover background that can be used if your true background involves a secret identity. So yeah. So for the Volstrucker agent, the Scourger, deception and stealth are your skills. You get proficiency with a Poisoner's Kit, and you get one language of your choice. Now, we have not seen Caleb use a Poisoner's Kit. Yeah.
I think based on his RP choices, it's the Haunted One.
You say that, but there's a few things in here. There's a tragedy which, either connected you to or broke you from the Volstruckers. Familicide is the first one, of course.
Well, I mean, we only have 3 examples of Volstruckers in the campaign.
And they all... Well, there's that. There's amnesia, capture. You were captured and tortured by agents of the Kryn dynasty and escaped. There's starvation through a drought in your land. You survived. You weren't taken. Disfigurement from an Arcanist experiment, and you were in vicissitude. You were once the scion of a wealthy family who lost their entire fortune in the blink of an eye. So agent ideals, the last one leads me to, I'm just going to read the ones that I think pertain to. Volstrucker are pure evil. I can't atone for what I've done for them, but I can escape with my life. Then there's the bonds and the flaws. Now, it would be kind of tweaked for Caleb, but I go a bit mad when I see blood. That or I can hear the voices of everyone I've killed. I see their faces. I can't be free of these ghosts. Either one of those would fit Caleb.
Yeah.
The feature does not fit Caleb, though. You have access to the Volstrucker Shadow Network, which allows you to communicate with other members of the Order over long distances. If you write a letter in a special arcane ink, address it to a member of the Volstrucker and cast it into a fire, the letter will burn into cinders and materialize whole again on the person of the agent you addressed it to. The ink used in this letter is the same as that used by a wizard to scribe spells in a spell book. Writing the letter in this ink costs 10 gold per page. Although, what I would almost do, if I was going to play like someone who had escaped the Bullstruckers, who is no longer an agent, I would ask my DM if I could swap out this feature for the recovered cultist feature in the Tal'Dorei guide, which just gives you bonuses to spot cults. So you'd be able to spot Bullstruckers. You would know who they were, rather than having access to this.
That's fair.
So those are the...
And handy dandy. It has adapting other backgrounds.
Yes, to Wildemount specific. Snoopy, those are the backgrounds. You want some spells? Let's see, we've seen Gift of Alacrity. We've seen Fortune's Favor in the campaign. We've seen Immovable Object and even Wrist Pocket. I believe it is not where it basically creates a pocket dimension.
I thought those were gloves that she was wearing.
Possibly. Okay, maybe you're right.
Because the gloves of thievery allow you to do that.
You want a high level or a low level, Snoopy?
I think we saw that one. Magnify gravity?
Yeah.
He says third or fifth.
Third or fifth. All right. Well, there's one in each of those, so let's do both of them. So third level is Pulse Wave. It is an evocation. Casting time 1 action, range self, 30-foot cone, vocal and somatic components. You create intense pressure, unleash it in a 30-foot cone, and decide whether the pressure pulls or pushes creatures and objects. Each creature that must in the cone must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, they take 6d6 damage and are pushed or pulled 15 feet. On a successful save, they're not pushed or pulled, and they take half the damage. In addition, unsecured objects that are completely within the cone are likewise pushed or pulled 15 feet.
We saw this when they were attacked after coming out of the wormhole.
When you cast this spell using a spell slot of 4th level or higher, increase the damage by 1d6 and the distance pulled or pushed by 5 feet for each spell slot level. And then 5th is Temporal Shunt. It is a transmutation. It is a reaction taken when a creature you see makes an attack roll or starts to cast a spell. It's 120-foot range with vocal and somatic components. Duration is 1 round. You target the triggering creature, which must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or vanish, being thrown into another point in time, causing the attack to miss or the spell to be wasted. At the start of its next turn, the creature reappears where it was or in the closest unoccupied square. The target doesn't remember you casting the spell or being affected by it. At higher levels, when you cast this spell using this spell slot of 6th level or higher, you can target 1 additional creature for each slot above 5th level. All targets must be within 30 feet of each other.
Is that a reaction?
It is a reaction.
Huh.
It is the Dunamatic counter spell.
Yeah, but it's more than just counter spell because it's any attack roll, right?
Yep. Any attack or cast a spell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's also potentially answers a question that we asked last week about Matt's view of time travel and whether or not he's a closed loop, open loop, or the Avengers fractional timelines, or just Doctor Who wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff. We can do whatever we want. Story. Interesting. Because it kind of acts almost as banishment as well, but for a turn.
Yep. So.
And the Echo Knight was the fighter subclass that we saw when they produce a duplicate of themselves. And they can change positions with it. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. So you use a bonus action to create it within 15 feet of you. It has an AC of 14 plus your proficiency bonus, 1 hit point. It's immune to all conditions, and it uses your saving throw bonuses. As a bonus action, you can teleport magically, swapping places with your Echo at the cost of 15 feet of your movement, regardless of the distance between you two. It can never be more than 30 feet away from you, by the way, if it moves. When you make the attack action on your turn, any attack you make with that action can originate from your space or the Echo space, and you make that choice for each attack in the attack action.
Yeah, which we saw in the encounter in the sewer.
Right. And when a creature you can see within 5 feet of your Echo moves at least 5 feet away from it, you can use your reaction to make an opportunity attack as if you were in their space.
That's a cool one.
Which will pair nicely with Sentinel.
Yeah.
You can tie down 2 people.
Well, just one, because you only get one reaction turn.
Unless you multi-class with a Cobalt Soul Monk.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
You also get, at 3rd level, you can heighten your Echo's Fury. Whenever you take the attack action, you can make 1 additional attack from the Echo's position. So you get extra attack just from the other position. And it's actually an extra attack.
Oh, wow.
So you can use this feature a number of times equal to your con modifier for a long rest.
What do the wizard schools, what do the traditions give you?
So Chronergy Magic, Chronal Shift. Now this is a tweaking of the Diviner. Okay. You magically exert limited control over the flow of time around a creature. As a reaction, after you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can force the creature to re-roll. You make this decision after you see whether the roll succeeds or fails. The target must use the result of the second roll. You can use this ability twice and regain the expended uses at the end of a long rest.
Yeah.
And then they also get, at 2nd level, temporal awareness, where they add their intelligence modifier to their initiative.
The War Wizard.
Yep. At 6th level, as an action, you can magically force a larger, smaller creature you can see within 60 feet of you to make a con saving throw against your spell save DC using, unless the saving throw is a success, the creature is encased in a field of magical energy until the end of your next turn, or until the creature takes any damage. While encased in this way, the creature is incapacitated and has a speed of 0. You can use it a number of times per equal to your intelligence modifier per long rest.
Wow.
So it's a whole person.
Yeah.
Con save whole person. But can work on any creature.
Yeah.
10th level, you can cast a spell using a slot. When you cast a spell using a slot 4th level or lower, you can condense the spell's magic into a mote. The spell is frozen in time at the moment of casting and held within a great bead for 1 hour. This bead is a tiny object with AC 15 and 1 hit point, and is immune to poison and psychic damage. When the duration ends, or if the bead is destroyed, it vanishes in a flash of light and the spell is lost. The creature holding the bead can use its action to release the spell within, whereupon the bead disappears. The spell uses your spell attack bonus, save DC, and the spell treats the creature who released it as the caster for all other purposes. Once you create a bead with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. So you can give your fighter a fireball.
Yeah. It's a delayed blast, whatever.
Yeah. It's a delayed blast.
Cold.
Or alternatively, you can give the rogue a mode of invisibility to make his getaway.
Yeah. Or greater invisibility, because it doesn't have to be over 4th level.
4th level or under.
Oh. Yeah. Damn.
And then 14th level, Convergent Future. You can peer through the possible futures and magically pull one of them into events around you, ensuring a particular outcome. When you or a creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can use your reaction to ignore the die roll and decide whether the number rolled is the minimum needed to succeed or one less. So you can guarantee a success or a failure. They can either just succeed or just fail.
Wow.
Once you use this feature, you gain 1 level of exhaustion. Only by finishing a long rest can you remove a level of exhaustion gained in this way.
Which gets around the greater restoration cheese.
Yes. And limits you to 6 times a day. Well, 5.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah. And technically 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Because you're only going to remove 1 per long rest.
Yeah.
So that is the Chronologist. The Graviturgy Magic. 2nd level, Adjust Density. As an action, you can magically alter the weight of one object or creature within 30 feet. It must be large or smaller. The target's weight is halved or doubled for 1 minute or until your concentration ends. If the weight is halved, they gain an increase to their speed by 10 feet. They can jump twice as far as normal, has a disadvantage on strength checks and saves. And if the weight is doubled, its speed is reduced by 10 feet, has an advantage on strength checks and strength saves. Upon reaching 10th level, you can target a creature that is huge or smaller. Gravity Well at 6th level. Whenever you cast a spell on a creature, you can move that target 5 feet to an unoccupied space of your choice. If the target is willing to move, the spell hits it with an attack, or it fails a saving throw against the spell. So, if I hit you with Fireball, I can push you.
Yeah.
Or, if I cast Bless on you and you want me to be able to move you 5 feet, I can move you. 10th level, Violent Attraction. When another creature you can see within 60 feet of you hits with a weapon attack, you can use your reaction to increase the attack's velocity, causing the attack target to take an extra 1d10 damage of the weapon's type. Alternatively, if a creature within 60 feet of you takes damage from a fall, you can use your reaction to increase the fall's damage by 2d10. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier for long rest. Now, I wish that it was manipulated attraction so that you could also lessen it, but it's only increasing. Yeah, it's only adding damage. And then 14th level is Event Horizon. You magically emit a powerful field of gravitational energy that tugs on other creatures for up to a minute or until your concentration ends. For that duration, whenever a creature hostile to you starts its turn within 30 feet of you, it must make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, it takes 2d10 force damage. Its speed is reduced to 0 until the start of its next turn. On a successful save, it takes half as much damage, and every foot of movement costs 2 extra feet of movement.
You can't leave. She won't let you.
Yeah. So you do this while you're standing right behind the guy with Sentinel.
Well, force movement doesn't provoke the sentinel attack.
No, this isn't forced movement. This is either your speed is 0, so you can't leave, or you're in difficult terrain, basically.
Yeah.
Or standing right next to the guy. Yeah, go ahead and hit me. He's going to take you out if you do. Because I'll use my reaction to give him extra damage as he attacks you.
Yeah. Right.
So, and then you can use that feature once per long rest, but you can regain its use if you cast a spell of 3rd level, or if you expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 wizards.
We didn't talk about what we're going to do next week.
We have not.
Comment. Let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll see about doing that. Or we might do something that we worked on a long time ago. I think maybe. Or I'll debut what I've been banging my head against for the last week or so. Well, by the time we get there, it'll be more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In the meantime, hopefully, no Critical Role this Thursday. Hopefully next Thursday, though.
Yep.
And see you guys later.
Wash your hands.